Hi everybody. I decided it would be easiest for me to put this in a video, and hopefully third time's a charm because this is the third profile that I'm working on to try and demonstrate how I like to walk through these. So we'll see if this one works. Okay, obviously the first thing that we need to do is go into edit mode, and we'll scroll down to the narrative. And you can see that this is kind of a mess with lots of inline references. And those, by the source number, are connected to the sources at the bottom. I always like to space them out because I'm old and I can't see things as well as I used to. There's that. So what I do is I usually start with the source number because, like I showed you up above, the inline references are linked to these sources. I'm not going to go into explaining the span notation here. We will be deleting that because typically we don't use that on our biographies unless we absolutely have to, and that's a whole other video. So I'm going to start with the source number. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to do Control F to do a find on the page, and I will copy that source number into this find box. It tells me that this source is found 5 times in the biography, and that's how I know whether or not it's going to be referenced up above. So if I use Control G, it will pop me through each instance of that occurrence in the biography. So I can see that it's located under the name section, the birth section, and the residence section. Now, some of you might leave the name section in here. I do not. Mainly because I feel like it's just redundant information that we don't need to have. So when I find that a source has been referenced in the name section and also referenced somewhere else, I will delete it from the name section because I know that it's already being used elsewhere and I'm not deleting valuable information that way. So I'm going to take that out. And as we go through these sources, I'll probably end up removing the rest of these inline references on the name section, and then I could just delete the name section. But I'm careful to make sure that I'm not deleting information for a source that is only cited in the name section because I don't want to lose the information that's in that inline reference. Okay, so that first one is deleted. We come down here, we see that it's used in the birth section, and we see that it's used under residences. So what I'm going to do to make this a little clearer is reformat this citation. I always italicize the title, whoops, and then I take out any extra text that's in here that's not needed. So we know it's a collection of census data that is found on ancestry.com. We don't need to say that twice. So I took all that out, and it's going to turn into a really short citation here, actually. You can take out anything related to the APID number because that is only for Ancestry. That's not for us. You can take out repository information. We don't need that either. So now all I've ended up with here is the name of the census collection and where it was found. And ultimately, I would go back and find this census collection on, or find the record in the census collection on Family Search so that it's freely available to anybody else who wants to look at it that doesn't have an Ancestry subscription. Okay, so I'm going to do Control X to cut this. I'm going to do Control G to go back up to where it's referenced up here. And here I can take out most of what's here, not all of it. It's supporting the birth date, so that's probably where they got this rough birth year. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it connected to that for the moment because that's probably the only place that they got the birth date, that and a couple other census listings. So let's just clean up this reference. We can take out anything related to the source number. There's nothing under page. The year is going to be in the title, so we don't need that. We could leave the place. I'm going to go ahead and put this. I copied in or pasted in the name and the location of the collection. I'm going to leave that it says where they were living, Union, Illinois. I'm, of course, going to leave the roll number, the page number, the image number, and that it can be found at the Family History Library. And here's the film number. Again, we can take out the APID number. Now, the only thing left to do with this particular reference is to name it, because we know it is used further down in the narrative, so I want to be able to do a repeated reference. So I'm going to have to name it to do that. I go 1860 census. I copy this first portion here. I'm going to do Control G again to find this source number in other locations in the narrative. There it is. It is supporting that they were in residence in Union, Illinois, and they've got the township location. So let's see, I am not going to leave their age. I am going to leave the date for the residence. I'm going to reformat it and leave the location. And here I can just take out this full reference here and paste in my repeated reference information. You have the ref tag, the qualifier of name, and then you close it with a /. So now this will refer to the same source information that we used up here on the birth. And again, I'm going to clean that up a little bit too. We're born circa 1824 in North Carolina. That looks a little cleaner. We don't need to have the headers. This information is already up in the vital statistics at the top of the profile, but this is how we tell people where we got that information. And it was from the 1860 census in this particular instance. Okay, so as I go through here and I reformat the sources down below, I'm also cleaning up the different bits of data in the narrative. So let's move down here to the next source. I'm going to delete this. I'm done with it. And move to the next one. Again, I copy, I find, I paste that into the find box. I can see, because it occurs more than twice, that it's used up in the narrative. I'll go ahead and clean this up. Again, it's a census listing at Ancestry. I can take out most of what's there and basically just keep the title and the location of the collection. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to go up here. Again, it's another one I can take out from the name section because it's used down below, so we don't need to have it in both places. Okay, so again, I'm going to paste this in, take out a good bit of this information that is redundant. We'll leave all of the important things. And I will name it 1870 census. And I will copy this reference to the next occurrence of this source, which is right here. Paste. Close it. They don't have a date for this. I assume it was in 1870, but it's kind of weird that they didn't have more than that. I can see it's down here again, and actually I can just delete this part because that's redundant with the information right here, so we don't need to have it in there twice. So we'll clean that up, and we'll paste that in here instead. Okay. So now, as you can see, we already have 2 residences cleaned up. We're starting to whittle away at the name section. We have the birth information cleaned up almost. We still got a couple more to go. Let's go back down here. We're done with that one. Delete. Move on to the next one. Copy, find. Again, it's referenced in a number of places, so I know that I need to clean this up and copy it up to the top. Let's see. Can take all that out. Let's cut. Do a Control G to find it up above. Again, I can take this out of here. And now the whole name section is irrelevant now, so I'm going to delete it. I can start cleaning up this reference citation here. Okay, let's make sure we don't lose any of the valuable information and we get rid of the redundant information. And we'll name it again. And copy it to the next instance of this reference. Oops. Which is down here. Again, it's another residence. Okay. And I am going to come back and clean up some more stuff here, but let's finish moving the sources around to where they belong. I think that might have been the last one. Yeah, the next one is a reference to an ancestry family tree, and I don't usually find those in the narrative. Yeah, it's just down here. And I don't delete those because there could be sources on that family tree on Ancestry, and we don't want to delete them. So if somebody has an Ancestry subscription, they can go back and look at the tree, but we don't need all this extra information here. So I'm going to take it and create a link to the tree. Now, for those of you who haven't done a lot of linking on WikiTree, I'm just going to explain this external link structure right here. This will link to a web page outside of WikiTree, so we call that an external link reference, and it starts with a single square bracket, the URL, a space, and then the text that you would like to describe that link reference. So we just want it, when I go to preview, it's just going to say Ancestry Family Trees here, and you won't see the URL. And then you close it out with a right square bracket. So we don't need to have that up top. We can just leave that down here. We could actually say see also. Okay, so going back up here, we have some additional cleanup to do. This tells us how this profile came into being. I usually like to keep that because it might come in valuable at some point. But I can take out the extraneous information, and I will move that down to the sources section. And now we can kind of clean up this information. So we have 3 references to different censuses, but they're not in chronological order. So I'm going to reorder those. I take 1870 and put it before 1880. And then I can come down here and do the same with the residence locations. And we have redundant information here for the marriage. That's already going to be elsewhere on the profile, and there is no source attached to it here. So I do want to go check and make sure that his information is included on the marriage page. It doesn't have the date, so I'm going to go back here and get the date off of this. June 27th, 1841. I'm going to say uncertain because there is no source supporting it. I'm going to spell out Tennessee. Again, uncertain. I'm not really critically thinking about the information in this profile, so if I'm making mistakes, I apologize. I can look at it later after I'm not recording. And we'll save that. So we go back here. Let's just run through this information, move his initial to the middle name. Let's see. It's probably Union County, Illinois, but I'm going to leave it as it is for the moment. I don't have any sources to support his birth and death information here, so they are all going to remain uncertain. I do want to say why I was here. And we'll come back down here and make sure I didn't miss anything. So we've got birth information with the source citations from the census. We have residence information also with supporting citations from the census. And I am going to delete this block from the marriage and the children. The children are all connected up here. And the marriage information is available on the marriage information page, so we just don't need that here. And I think we're done. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? A lot easier to read, especially when we go into preview. You can see that we've got the footnotes for each of the census listings, which are included here. You can see that the census listings are each used twice in the narrative. There's one here and one here. And down below, we just have a link to the ancestry family tree, which is where this information came from. And we have who brought it in, what the name of their GEDCOM was, and when they imported it. And I think we're done. That's it. Save. And then we have a much easier to read biography. And hopefully somebody will be inspired to come in here and find source citations for these census listings outside of Ancestry so that they're free and everybody can look at them. That's all I've got today, guys. Thanks for following along. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Bye.